Hello, everyone. This is Michael Butterman, music director of the Boulder Philharmonic Orchestra. Excited to be talking with one of our two artistic partners for the 2021 Reimagined season, cellist Zuill Bailey, joining us from his home in El Paso. Welcome, Zuill. Good to see you.
See you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you.
And we are excited to be talking about the first of two concerts that Zuill is playing with us this season. The one that we're going to hear on January 23rd features a brand new work written especially for him, along with a work that is a real masterpiece and just at the center, in a way, of the chamber music repertoire by Franz Schubert. And those two pieces, in a way, are related as well. First of all, before we even talk about that, I want to just go back to a little less than a year ago. You were, in fact, the last guest artist that we had with the Boulder Philharmonic in Mackey Auditorium before everything shut down. You played the Dougherty, Tales of Hemingway, with us back in late February of 2020. And it was at that point, when we were preparing for that, that you mentioned to me you were also just getting ready to premiere a brand new work. Tell us a little bit about that piece.
Which is the last time I played in public. So that Zuill was the last time. And it's very, very intertwined. So Ellen Zuill has a home in Florida, as well as she has a home in New York City. She says that I've been on her radar for years, and she's always wanted to write a cello concerto. And after coming to hear the Michael Dougherty Tales of Hemingway in Florida, where I performed it, she realized that she better do it now. And it was like the orchestra, the South Florida Symphony, had asked her to celebrate her own 80th birthday and to celebrate a significant anniversary of the orchestra, to basically have carte blanche. What do you want to write? Which is exactly what happened with Michael Dougherty. They gave him carte blanche, and he wanted to write a cello concerto too. So wow. She said she was so impressed by the depths and the heights of what a cello can do, and in particular, the cello that I've got that's particularly big and robust, that she said, I can't wait to write this for you. And she asked me to send her recordings of other things. So right after I performed the Dougherty with you, I flew to Florida and premiered with large-scale orchestra her cello concerto. And it's a very brief work. It's very interesting. It's in 3 movements, but it sounds like one movement, and it continues to spin outward. Very jazzy, absolutely what she wanted. It does explore the heights and the depths of the cello, a lot of cadenza kinds of things. And I, as being her, I wouldn't say muse, but as being part of this creation, I felt very lucky that she really wanted me to be a part of it. She would send me several lines at a time and ask what I thought. Did this work on the cello? Does this feel good? Does it make you feel like you can express yourself? And you know, anytime you can work with a living composer, it makes you realize kind of the freedom one should consider with those who are not living, as opposed to have um, the notations be a guide versus necessarily handcuffs.
Yes.
So we had a terrific working to get it ready for this premiere. And I mean, it was such a success, and the audience was so excited by it. Little did I know that that was my last bow. But we were already talking, interestingly. We were already talking about the fact that, you know, a lot of premieres don't have what I call legs, because it's so hard to get new works programmed in multiple times to get them kind of started. And I said, you know, Ellen, consider an alternate version of this, because if you can, with the instrumentation, which is very unique, make it so it's mobile and flexible, and I can really showcase this at chamber music festivals, et cetera, et cetera. And she thought that was a very interesting idea. And you know, everyone from Chopin's piano concertos to Mozart to Beethoven did this.
Right.
They made it so they could move it around without having the overhead financially or the space, whether it be the venue, to continue to showcase their works. So she had already begun mapping this new idea, and she kept talking to me about, now what instrumentation would be interesting. I said, well, don't necessarily add incredibly unique instruments to your instrumentation, because no presenter wants to bring in a random instrument for one piece.
Right.
And she said, well, what if I worked it on the beautiful masterpiece, Schubert's Trout Quintet? You've got the bass, you've got the violin, you've got the cello, you've got the viola, and you have the piano that fills it out. And I said, brilliant. So this was already in play during the premiere, the world premiere with orchestra, let alone did I know that, I would be going home from that premiere and not leaving, and that we would have to kind of rely on social distance, and this would become such a magnet, and this kind of presentation would become so attractive. So it was fate that played its card.
It must have been, because I remember when you and I then began talking over the summer about the possibility of collaborating on this season that would have to involve many fewer players than normal. Well, I thought, well, maybe Haydn, we could do Haydn concerto, or maybe even the Rococo with very small numbers of strings or something like this. And you said, well, hey, there is this possibility. And then the minute you said that, I thought, well, for obviously then we should pair it with
Yeah.
the Schubert,
Yes.
and because it's just such a great work, and frankly also because it gave an opportunity for you to join the fold of our musicians, not as a soloist but as a true just colleague, one of 5 people in the Schubert. Tell me a little bit about the difference, if there is one, between the way that you play or think as a soloist and the way that you play or think as a chamber musician.
Well, the situation was unique in itself. I mean, the whole week in Boulder was unique, and there was not a lot of muscle tone from any of the musicians, having to sit far apart, having to wear masks, the expression that we're so used to, a smile. You had to basically do everything with your eyes,
Right.
and also you didn't feel like you were, well, at first, really in the same airplane hangar, which of course is where we very healthfully and safely film these things. But I think best case scenario, feeling like you're actually playing as equals in any piece is the way to go. I think that, there are only, thank goodness, a few concertos that are so lopsided in the cello repertoire that it's just chuck, 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 chuck when I'm playing a lot of things. Most of our masterpieces, Elgar, Dvorak, Doherty, it's everybody has a piece and a part in it.
Right.
And so going from the Zwillik, which is very much so a trading off and a going back and forth between the concertmaster and myself, as well as, of course, Jennifer Hagee, and then sitting in the Trout, in kind of the nook of the piano, and being surrounded like we tried to do with the Zwillik. I found it very similar, but my role was very different. I mean, the cello's role in that time of history was not necessarily the violin or the piano. You have to always remember that these composers were the ones sitting at the piano. So they were conducting and or guiding from the biggest instrument that had the most symphonic capabilities. Now, I wouldn't say the Trout is symphonic. I would say it's the ultimate example of the love of playing together in a small format, such as chamber music, with variations and beautiful themes. And it's just, I always say it's like the perfect Sunday afternoon music. It just makes everything feel good. And I have to praise you for taking the chance and programming not only the Doherty, which has gotten a proven track record of success, but something brand new. I love to use the word sound investment. You know, when you have a program with such a monument as the Trout, it's a guaranteed success. But when you test people and you give them something that is a new language, a new view on things to compare to these tried and true and tested masterpieces, um, it gives a perspective that is so rare and beautiful. It makes you feel different. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I think our audience has come to expect that actually, that we have something on every program that is familiar and is a sort of in a way the basis of the program. But then our audience, I think, really appreciates discovering music, especially if there is a connection between that music and let's say the other bigger or better known work on the program. And in this case, that connection is very clear. It's also true that we performed a work by Ellen Zuill, must be about 10 years ago, her Concerto Grosso 1985, which is a beautiful piece for chamber orchestra. And I have to say also, when you played the little bits of her concerto for me when we were together in February, we both noted that there was something, and I mean this as a compliment, something of the Friedrich Gulda concerto about this piece. And the Gulda concerto is something that we also presented in Boulder, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So I felt there was enough about this piece that connected it to the crowd and to our audience that it would work well and would be received well, and I'm sure it will be.
This is what's nice about this. If the audience is able to watch it twice, once they get their subscription, or 3 times, it is such a short work. The thing that brings us back to comfort is familiarity. And a lot of times you go to a concert and you hear it one time. You have to think way back in history. A lot of times the great composers would repeat melodies over and over in their symphonies and their repeats in the music, because that may have been the only time the audience ever heard that piece live.
Quite right.
And so in this particular case, they get to hear basically a world premiere of the Zwillig chamber music version. It is a world premiere.
Right.
But they get to also revisit it again and again. So they go, oh, and that's a gift also.
That is truly one of the upsides to what we are doing this season. We're presenting different views than people normally have when they're seated in their seats at Mackey. That we are probably also creating a little different sonic environment than they are normally experiencing, and just what you said, the option to watch it again and again is. So and as you said, especially with new music, especially one that is this relatively brief, that you can do that with. I think it's a great benefit to this set of circumstances in which we find ourselves. Now, this program opens with a short work for piano and cello that you and I are going to share. The vocalese of Rachmaninoff. A piece that is both beautiful and also definitely some melancholy in that piece, I think. It's a piece that we also included on our gala back in the fall, but is intended as the opening of this concert here later this month in January. Anything you want to share about the Rachmaninoff?
I grew up with this piece being the favorite piece of my father. He could not stop listening to the Stokowski Anamorpho recording. If anybody hears this and can get to their computer, right, or watch Anamorpho or the recording of it, it is, it is perfection if there is perfection. And I grew up with that, and so I was so grateful that the cello, the instrument, the cello, is so much like the human voice. And being that there are no words to this piece, even sung, it's just this melody. It translates so beautifully on the cello. And I was very, again, grateful. I always try to put, when I program my own concerts, I always try to put something very, very personal to my heart that just reminds me who brought me to the table, or a story I can tell the audience. And of these 3 pieces, this is incredibly personal. And it's a great way to start because it just kind of showcases how simplicity and just beauty can change everything, change the temperature of everything. So yes, we'll be beginning with the Rachmaninoff vocalese, transcribed by Rachmaninoff himself. And it really does speak for itself. And I'm grateful that the great Rachmaninoff wrote just a couple of things for us as cellists, and they're so magnificent.
Indeed. Well, Zuill, thank you so much for partnering with us this season and for bringing us, especially this brand new work by Ellen Zwillik. We're excited to hear that on beginning on January 23rd. People can listen to it for some time thereafter as well. So right now we are going to leave you with a performance of a work by Max Bruch, his Kol Nidrei, for cello and piano that Zuill and I recorded in the studios of Colorado Public Radio, I guess the last time you were with us in Boulder, which was
2015.
about 5 years ago or so, a little more. We'll enjoy that as a kind of prelude, if you will, to the music that's coming up on January 23rd. Again, Zuill, thank you so much for being with us today.
Sure. Thank you, Michael.